What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the garage. Gerald here with you, of course. A few days ago, I released my favorite movies of the year so far. I'll tag it on this video for you. And I do my own award show at the end of the year, which I say is similar to the Academy Awards or the Golden Globes, except that there's no famous people there. Nobody watches it, and I usually get it wrong in terms of who ends up winning. Otherwise, it's about the same thing. One thing we do have in common, though, is the Oscars are eventually going to be on YouTube, so I beat them to that. Am I right? Well, halfway through the year, I like to give you what I call my mid-season awards, which is a lot more than just like, my top 5 or my top 10 favorite movies of the year. It dives into categories that usually show up at the Academy Awards. So in order to be on the video today, first of all, you have to be a movie I've seen, and I made fun of myself on that previous video because I've only seen a little over 40 films. I'm going on about 44 or 45 films so far. That's not enough for somebody that covers movies. The hell am I doing? But of those, I'm going to give my favorite in those categories that I'm going to be going over, but also I'm going to only be listing it if I think it would win at a major award show. Now, in the past, I've only done acting, directing, and best movie of the year so far. So that's only 4 categories I did because I do my acting in female and male. I don't do lead and supporting at June or July because in a lot of cases, we don't even know what the actors are going to be campaigned for by their studios and their directors. But what I did this year is I went ahead, I'm not going to do nominees because I haven't seen enough films to do that, but I'm going to give you my favorite in various categories from a technical standpoint. Let's take a look, first of all, at what I gave out last year in my mid-season awards in those 4 major categories. As you can see, last year, Sinners was a big winner when I did this at the end of June last year, as it won Best Male Performance for Michael B. Jordan, Best Director for Ryan Coogler, and Best Movie of the Year at the mid-season mark, just to kind of give you an idea of where I was last year. The categories that we're going to be looking at: Best Animated, Best Cinematography, Costumes, Best Editing so far, Best Hair and Makeup, International Film, and for that one, just so you guys know, it's any film that was not a U.S. production, so it doesn't have to be in a foreign language necessarily, it just has to be from another country. Best Use of Music in a Film, that could include score, but it's also coupled with the use of popular music or original songs, like all of that kind of mixed together to give you the best use of music in that movie. Best Production Design, Best Screenplay, which is going to be a grouping of adapted and original. Again, just based on the number of films I've seen, I couldn't really do split categories there. Best Visual Effects, and then I'm going to end with a kind of a bonus mention, which is going to be the best movie that you have not seen yet, which is a film that I think is under the radar or maybe has not been released, but it is coming out and I had a chance to see it. I know which one it is, so hang tight, we'll get there. We'll start, and I did them in kind of alphabetical order, so I will give you for Best Animated Film so far this year, and my award is going to go to Toy Story 5, the Disney Pixar film that I am currently saying is my number 2 in the franchise, only behind Toy Story 3. Best Cinematography is going to go to Greg Frazier, I hope I'm saying that right, for Project Hail Mary, a really beautiful film that does owe a lot to visual effects, sure, but just beautiful camera work in this movie. Best Costumes is going to go to costume designer Marcy Rogers for her work in Michael, the music biopic where she really captured, I think, the 70s, 80s, just, a lot of times that gets overlooked because we're looking for the ball gowns and the really elaborate, Renaissance costumes, which, by the way, we haven't gotten a lot of those so far this year. But nonetheless, there's something to be said for being able to recapture the 1980s, which is when I grew up, and I thought they did a great job. Best Editing so far this year is going to go to Jay Rabinowitz for Is God Is. Just a frantically edited, kind of almost like haphazardly edited film. It reminded me a lot of like Lynn Ramsey's editing in her films. We're going to get 3 ties in a row. I'm going to be shouting out 2 films in the next 3 categories. Don't get mad, sue me, it's my thing. Best Hair and Makeup is a tie between Michael and, surprisingly, The Bride. I did not like that movie, but one of the things that it really had going for it, actually a few things, and they were all technically related, like cinematography, score, and yes, the hair and makeup. Also a tie for Best International Film, and I've only seen, honestly, less than, I think it was 5 or 6 I've seen so far this year, so I'm ashamed of that, but I will have a lot more by the end of the year under my belt there. But I'm going to give it to Exit 8 out of Japan, tied with I Swear, of course, out of the UK. It was a big winner at last year's BAFTAs, but we only got to see it this year in the US as it was released in April. So I Swear and Exit 8 are tying for Best International for me this year. The best use of music in a film. This is a potpourri of popular songs, original songs, and the original score, or, reuse score, if applicable. But my best use of music in a film is also a tie between Michael and Ready or Not 2. Michael is pretty obvious. I mean, we're recreating concert footage and in some cases the actual songs playing of Michael Jackson's discography, as well as some other great Jackson 5 tunes and 1970s Motown hits. And then Ready or Not 2, there's a lot of great songs used in that movie, but the one that really jumped out to me that's probably my runner-up for my favorite scene of the year would be the total eclipse of the heart choreographed fight scene on the wedding dance floor between Samara Weaving and one of the antagonists in this movie, Ready or Not 2, when one of them's about to die. Man, it was really fun and just such a great use of like that song, but also like the kind of cheesy cliche wedding tropes of the lighting and the dance floor. Man, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's great. Best production design, almost a no-brainer. I do think this is going to get an Oscar nomination, just so you guys know, but it's Backrooms. The production designer is Danny Viermetti, if I'm saying that correct. But I mean, come on. I mean, recreating liminal horror in these spaces that were made popular over the last like 5 or 6 years, just flawless. I think the production design in that movie is a star of the film as much as the actors. Best screenplay, which could be either adapted or original, I'm going to give it to The Drama. I can't spoil it on this video, or I don't want to. Christopher Borgli, who's the director and writer of this film, had to do some really kind of courageous, unique, and confusing things with the screenplay, because the movie does appear to be one thing, almost like a romantic comedy about wedding planning, and then turns into this really kind of deep existential discussion on a larger issue, especially if you are a U.S. citizen. Again, I don't want to get into it, but it could not have been easy to kind of blend all of those themes together. Best visual effects I'm going to give to Project Hail Mary. I talked about it a little bit already, but along with the cinematography, this is such a good-looking film. Sometimes it's hard to really capture outer space and the unknown, if you will, and make it believable. And I thought they did a great job, not to mention what they do with Rocky in that movie. So Project Hail Mary for me, which I also think will obviously show up at the Academy Awards, or at least I'm assuming it will. And then the last one I want to give is kind of an interesting category, the best movie that you didn't see. Now, in fairness, I think you didn't see it, or you likely have not seen it, because it has not gotten a theatrical release here in the US. But it's a movie called Sore, A Wife from the Future. It is out of Indonesia, which does not always get a lot of love for their movies, but it was so good. It incorporates elements of AI, which of course is being somewhat overused now in terms of themes, but it did it from a time travel perspective and also from a place of mental health awareness, which again, I don't want to spoil it, but it was so good. It's such a great final act of this movie that you kind of think what's going to happen, and the way it comes to fruition in the last film for our two main characters. And man, I can't talk about it because I don't want to give it away, but it was really, really beautiful. And it moved me kind of out of nowhere. I was really enjoying it, but I did not expect to be as emotional I was in the last 5 or 10 minutes of this movie. But Sore, A Wife from the Future out of Indonesia is a movie that I definitely think while you're sitting here, you should pull out your phone and add to your watch list. All right, and then all that's left is the 4 major categories. Let's start with the ladies. I'm going to do Best Female Performance, which is also what I do in my the Garage Awards at the end of the year, like I was telling you guys. So I will do 6 nominees in these categories because it could be supporting, it could be lead. In some cases, we might not even know. So, it's just 6 female performances that I think are among the best of the year so far. The nominees in this category are going to be Emily Blunt from Disclosure Day, Barbie Ferreira from Mile End Kicks, and she has come a long way. I loved her in Euphoria. But this, along with last year's Bob Trevino Likes It, she is blowing me away, man. She's one of the best young actresses we got going right now, I think. Sandra Hüller in her supporting turn in Project Hail Mary, which, by the way, was my favorite performance in that movie. No offense to Mr. Gosling, because I love him too. Rachel McAdams in Send Help, doing her damn thing, man. She's so good in that. Indy Navarrete in Obsession. You guys know I love that performance. And Zendaya in The Drama. Very delicate performance there. A lot of eggshells have to be walked on in her role, and she did such a good job. My winner for Best Female Performance, again, this is just me handing this award out, but I do think that this lady is going to get some love come the actual award season. I'm going to be giving it to the young Indy Navarrete, who plays Nikki in Obsession. I've talked about it ad nauseum, and you can hear more about my thoughts on it in the videos that I have tagged below, and basically any video that's come out in the last month on this channel. Next up, we'll look at Best Male Performance so far this year. Your nominees, again, there are going to be 6 of them, and it could be lead or supporting. Robert R. Mayo in the UK, I Swear. Chiwetel Ejiofor for Backrooms. Ray Fiennes for 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Mr. Ryan Gosling, Sexy Beast in Project Hail Mary. Jafar Jackson in Michael. And Dylan O'Brien in Send Help. This was a tough one, actually. There's about 4 actors that I think are pretty much tied, if I'm being honest with you. But I'm going to keep my theme of young performers that are really doing their first major roles, just like Indy in the female performance. For male, I'm going to give it to Jafar Jackson for his portrayal of his real-life uncle, Michael Jackson. And if you just think about what it takes to recreate such an iconic, legendary person and character that everybody knows. My 7-year-old knows who Michael Jackson is. And that's not for me sitting him down and teaching him it. He just knows it. And it's just so hard to do. And then just a couple more for Best Director. Your nominees would be Curry Barker for Obsession, Alicia Harris for Is God Is, Matt Johnson for Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the duo, for Project Hail Mary, the young Kane Parsons for Backrooms, and Steven Spielberg for Disclosure Day. Isn't it crazy that Kane Parsons and Steven Spielberg, even though I don't think this would happen at the Oscars, but to see their name in the same category is kind of strange for me. But, and then Curry Barker too, really, because, it's YouTubers and Spielberg. I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, all these directing efforts were top tier. And just, not even talking about the movies necessarily, even though I do love all these movies, but I'm just thinking about the direction of the films. I'm going to have to give the award to, maybe a surprise based on the names you see there, Matt Johnson, the director for Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. I'm a big fan of his style anyway, which probably helped kind of lead into my bias there a little bit. But yeah, just kind of taking this passion project that he's been doing this comedy bit for so long and kind of really, in a way, kind of summarizes his roots a little bit as a filmmaker. But, just this auteur approach to a mockumentary kind of slapsticky style of film. And while at the same time just paying homage to so many other movies that you can tell influenced him and influenced this movie and this screenplay and just this story, like I said, as kind of a running gag that he has. And then last but not least, I'm going to give you 10 nominees and the eventual winner for what I think are the 10 best films that also could have awards potential of the year so far. The nominees for Best Picture would be Backrooms, The Drama, I Swear, Is God Is, Michael, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, Obsession, Project Hail Mary, Send Help, and Tuner, which I believe is the only one I have not mentioned so far on this video yet. The only other category that I really thought about doing just for Tuner's sake was Best Sound, but I didn't do that. I just did the best use of music in a film. But if I was doing Best Sound or Best Sound Design, Tuner would get that, just so you guys know. It's in the vein of like The Sound of Metal, kind of, where it just utilizes his hearing impairment and the cutout of sound, the use of when it's loud, when it's quiet. Really, really good. And then the piano tuning and piano playing in the movie. For the mid-season award here in the garage for Best Picture, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised, right? But I'm going to give it to Obsession. I think that it could have been The Drama, could have been Michael, could have been Project Hail Mary, and a lot of people are probably going to say that one. I love Project Hail Mary, but I think Obsession is just such a underdog story, and I'm thinking mostly of the box office success, right? Under $1 million, I think it was like $750,000 to make the movie. Like last check, it was like approaching $400 million or something like that. It just came out on VOD. It's going to make a ton there. Physical release is coming out. This is a huge success story. Probably one of the greatest in the history of cinema, to be honest with you, when you're looking at budget versus box office. I've already talked about Indy Navarrette's performance being my female win so far. I do hope that this movie shows up. And currently, just so you guys know, if you don't, I have it predicted for Best Picture nomination. I have it predicted for Screenplay and for her, for Indy. That's a package that makes a lot of sense to me. And, I hope that it happens. I really do. So in keeping with that, I'm going to keep the kind of conversation going. And Obsession is going to get my mid-season award for the best movie of the year so far, 2026. Let's do a quick recap, a snapshot here on the screen of the winners for you. There's all the technical awards that won, I say technical, but not the big four. No real major surprises there, I wouldn't say. I guess maybe you guys might be surprised that I gave the drama screenplay over something like Obsession or even Project Hail Mary. But again, I've kind of talked about the balancing of themes in that movie and how that had to have been tough, and I really respect that. Me shouting out The Bride for makeup might be a surprise to a lot of you. But if you go back and watch that movie, it's definitely one of its strong suits. And then here's the big four winners. Male performance I gave to Jafar Jackson for Michael, Indy Navarrete for Obsession for female director went to Matt Johnson for Nirvana, the band that showed the movie. And then Obsession won my Best Picture. But that's what I think so far this year. And again, this is just from the 45 or so movies I've seen so far at the end of June. So if you think I need to add something to my watch list that is a glaring omission here in one of these categories, please let me know that down below. If you guys are into it, I'm always happy to see new members show up, and I try to do as much stuff for those guys as I can. I do like 4K Blu-ray giveaways every month. I do early release for all these types of videos. You get them at least a day or two in advance of the general public. You get your own emojis, badges, all kinds of stuff. You can click join down below here on YouTube and read all about that. For as little as a couple bucks a month, you can help me out, which would mean a lot because life is crazy right now. So I need all the help I can get. At the very least, thank you for subscribing. I will see you guys out here next time in the garage.